Hello and welcome to the next episode of Booktube Bestie. Today we are doing Dom from Dominish books, Best and Worst. Now, Dom is an interesting one because me and Dom align a lot and disalign a lot, so I'm very curious to see where we fall on this. He gave me a decent list, but I ended up going with Along the Razor's Edge by Rob J. Hayes as his favorite book, which I actually think is like number one on his list if I remember correctly. So it is like actually his favorite book of the year that I haven't read, so that made that one easy. It's also on KU and Audible Plus, so it was easy to get, which I know not a lot about this book. I know it follows our main character who is a young female who can't use magic at the moment. Let's look it up. I know it is a 5-book-long series, which I actually think that 5-book-long series are something I want to try more of, because trilogies sometimes don't do it for me, and same with quartets. But like, I also don't like when a series gets too long, because I think that like when you're at 10 books, 12 books, there's probably 5 books that didn't need to be there. That's just my own take on it. So I think 5 is like a good number for me. I hope. Like, you know, I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying at this moment in time. But in this story, we're following Ascara, who is in the pit, and no one escapes the pit. She's young, she's 15. She was once a powerful sorcerer, but now she's in the pit and she can't use magic, and she needs to learn to escape. That's all I know. I'm excited to read it. A lot of people I know have read it and loved it that I trust. I mean, it's on Dom's favorite. Esme read it last year and loves it. Holly Hart's Books loves it. I'm excited to try it out. And for his worst of the year, I did another indie. I mean, would it be Dom without indie books? Because like, if you think about me and indie books, I think about Dom and indie books. Like, Dom and Esme are my indie go-tos for sure. So I did his other worst of the year, which was an indie, which is Dapriel Fools. I know nothing about this. I know this was a book he had to read for SPFBO because he was one of Bookborn's, like, I'm going to say beta readers. It's not what it's called. And he had to read 5 books and then put his favorite out to Bookborn. And this was one of the ones he had to read. And yeah, I otherwise don't know anything about the story. Should I Goodreads it and not be a bad person? Probably. We follow our 2 characters in this, Dapriel and Bixby, who Bixby is a wizard and Dapriel is a warrior, and they set out on a quest to bring together new heroes battling with self-doubt and fears in a world that doesn't take kindly to people with strange blessings like the strain, but united they think that they can finally stand up to the nation of Blacklen. And I'm terrified for this book because I would say that Dom is nicer than I am. I believe this got a 3-star from him still. And if you know me, a 3-star is still a good book for me. So I'm just nervous and scared because if Dom didn't like it, what am I going to feel about it? But I'm excited. I'm hopeful still. Like, I am still hopeful. So let's just roll on into the video. Okay, I am 50 pages into Along the Razor's Edge, which is about 12%. I started this morning. So why are you looking at me like that? Like I'm a crazy person. So far, I'm liking it. I think the author has taken on a grand old task because since it's written in... don't make fun of my language. Since it's written in past tense, we know that our main character is not in the situation anymore, that they've survived. And part of this whole situation is about the fear of everything and the danger that's involved. So I think there is a hard task to get me to still feel on the edge of my seat and unnerved as we continue this, but I'm excited. And I'm also kind of hoping that we get like a Nona Gray, because she kind of reminds me of Nona Gray, but also I'm having flashbacks to Throne of Glass with this whole like cave mine situation. I'm really invested in this friendship. And I think that means my soul is going to be ripped apart at some point in this book. Being invested in these things in fantasy and darker fantasy is never a good idea. I'm kind of obsessed with this magic system and the way they find out if you have certain magics is really cool. Yeah, that's all I gotta say. So far I'm 29% in. I'm really enjoying this one. This is it. This could be the 5-star. I don't want to jinx it because, you know, like I'm 7 books into the freaking year. And so like, I'm just hopeful. I'm just praying right now for at least a 4. So I finished Along the Razor's Edge, and I had a really good time with this book. I ended up giving it 4 stars. I debated giving it 5 stars. I can't lie. Like, this was a close 5-star for me. If I did not have other required reads, I would probably pick up the second book right now, which says a lot about the story, and like I really want to continue. I'm hopefully going to be able to continue next month is the plan. But I did have nitpicky things with it and like things that brought my enjoyment down while I read it, but the story as a whole is a really good book. So that's why I got a 4-star from me, because I did find the writing became repetitive, the plot was very repetitive in nature, and that there was some thing that the author does, the writer does. Rob J. Hayes decides to write this in past tense and then give us clues as we go and like give us snippets of her future, which just had me less intrigued and less on the edge. Well, I shouldn't say less intrigued, because it had me intrigued about things down the line, but for this book, I was less like on the edge of my seat because I knew she was coming out alive. I knew roughly what friends were coming with her. I knew like the situation as a whole. I was just kind of there to see it plan out, but I knew how it would end, if that makes sense. Like I always knew she was getting out because like the author makes that pretty clear to you in the beginning. But I'm obsessed with this magic system. You like ingest rocks and, well, sources, and like every source kills you. Like even if you can wield the magic, it will kill you at some point, but if you can use that said magic, it'll kill you slower. And like the idea of the magic school and like the science behind finding what sources you're compatible with and all that was super intriguing. Our main character, let me hear it. Let me tell you right now, I adore her. She is such a brat. Like she reminds me of Nona Gray, but pettier, and I was just here for it. I really, really enjoyed her character, like, a lot, although, like, it was repetitive. A lot of it was repetitive, which kind of just, like, brought down that 5-star for me. I do think that there's some writing that, like, brought it down for me, but, like, I'm expecting the next book to be a 5-star read for me. I always know it's harder for a first book to get 5 stars for me, just because it takes me a long time to connect with characters, and I think characters are what makes a 5-star read for me. Even though I don't think I'm character driven, I don't know what I am anymore. This whole series has me being like, am I character driven? Am I plot driven? Am I world building driven? I don't know. But needless to say, this was a win for Dom. He's at +1, and that's pretty good. So we're going to now see what he ends up with. Because, yeah, I had a good time with this, and I'm shocked I liked it because it is such an isolated story. And I wasn't expecting to like it because we're trapped in, like, a cave and we're just, like, escaping. And it's really with our character and we're in the character's head a lot. But we do have connections and discussions and plot lines that diverge to other places. Like, we have the magic school in the past, and then we have her friendships with other people and, like, her trying to survive the cave and, like, the battles she has with other people and things she does to survive. And I just found that really fascinating. And honestly, I could just read books and books and books on the lore of this world. Like, I found the magic really cool, the, like, creatures really cool, the, like, politics between, like, the races pretty cool, and, like, I literally could just sit here and read, like, a textbook that, like, had pictures of, like, a creature and then told me a little bit about the creature from the other world, or, like, the magic, one of the sources. I literally would love that. Like, Rob J. Hayes, if you're watching this, I need, like, an encyclopedia, like, a picture, you know, like, the dinosaur books, but I have, like, a picture of the dinosaur bones and, like, all that. I just want that. Please give it to me. Anyways, let's see. I'm really, really happy I loved this one because I was not expecting to, and that really made my day. Okay, I started April Fools? Fools? I don't actually know how to say this book's name. I'm 15% in. I don't have a lot of thoughts quite yet. Mainly, I just do see some clunky dialogue. It does have that typical, I would say, like, indie writing that people talk about. Easy to be improved on future books. I try not to, like, really ruin my taste of a book completely, but it is something I think about and I see and notice and do want improvement on. The other thing is that our main character seems to trust too easily. Actually, everyone in this book seems to trust too easily, but I'm hopeful that there'll be, like, a reason for it, because they kind of have to, like, they kind of keep mentioning that it's, like, a town thing. So, like, maybe we'll get a reasoning later on. Also, I hate wizard books, so there's a wizard. That's all I'm gonna say. The more I read, the more I don't think it's fair to say that the dialogue in this is clunky, although it could be. But I think the more issue with it is that all of the character work happens within dialogue, which then makes the dialogue feel clunky because it's doing extra work and we're not getting that anywhere else like I would want. And I don't want every page to just be like full of dialogue because that feels like too much dialogue. I think there needs to be a balance that I'm not getting within the story, so far at least. Okay, everybody just agrees to everything in this book so easily. I hate that. Why? Like, it doesn't make a good book. So I finished April Fools last night, and I don't actually have a lot of thoughts on this book. I think I said a lot of it already. The writing was just done mostly through dialogue. There was a lot of clunky writing, and our characters for me just never had any dimension to them. Things happened way too fast. We met one character and we're supposed to like persuade them to give up their life and risk their life for this cause, and like no persuading happened. It was just like, yeah, sure, I'll go, why not? And I just feel like with the stakes that were given, we should have had some persuasion. There's one scene where I was like, oh, you could have just made that scene happen earlier because that gave him a reason why he has to leave and he has to go with you, instead of just having him accept and then that thing happen. And I don't know, I just didn't vibe with it. It was really hopeful. Like, there are no sad moments for me in this book. I think that anytime something sad happened, it was looked upon with a hopeful eyesight, which for some people works. I think if you've been around my channel, you know, just does not work for me. I'm here for the grief, I'm here for the gritty, I'm here for the dirty, because I think those are human emotions. I want hopeful too, like, don't get me wrong. I want to see the hopeful moments too, but I just don't want it to be one level of hope the entire time. I want to see dimensions to my characters, dimensions to my world, dimensions to feelings and magic and all of that. And I just think that that's what this book lacked. I think the overall concept of it was quite good. We're going on a quest. We have our characters who have the strain, which is a magic system style thing, and each character has like different magic. I think the idea of the one character has the magic of like bubbles, which was so weird, and at first I was like, how is this gonna work and be effective? And then I loved her magic as it went, and I thought it was super cool. I think there was like really cool concepts with like the strain, and then the Empire it's not like it's a story that's been done before, but I do think that like there was ways that it was done really well with like the Empire going and trying to round up all the people with the strain to either work for them or get rid of them, and these people hiding out and hiding their powers and their abilities. But for me, it just all sat at one level and it just didn't surpass that level. And I think that maybe with time it could have. I think maybe it's a story that needed a little bit more added to it, a little bit more grit added, but it did have the bare bones of a great story in the making. But for me, it did get a 2-star just because I lacked the level I wanted from it. I lacked the emotional depth I wanted from it, but it didn't get a 1-star because I do think the bones are there and it wasn't terrible. I wasn't like, oh my god, what the frick am I reading the entire time? But yeah, a 2-star, which is only 1 point off from Dom, because he gave it a 3-star, and I was really worried I was going to give this book a 1-star and then he'd be 2 off, but we are 1 point off, so still pretty solid. I'll leave you to the next clip now. I feel like this episode was such a win, because I mean, I got a 4-star read out of it, and I was just like sitting here, 7th book of the year, dreading it wasn't going to be like, not that some of these books were bad, like 3 stars for me are still really good, and I really have enjoyed a lot of the books I've read so far this year, but like I wanted a book to like be a favorite. When I started this series, I thought I would be reading a lot more 4s and 5s, to be honest, because I mean, my favorites, the people I blindly trust, love these books. I wanted to love them too. So I'm really, really happy I did get a 4-star. And like, I'm sitting here and I have read a couple books since reading Along the Razor's Edge, and I'm still thinking about picking up that second book. Like, that was a win for me. Even with all the faults of it, the fact that I just cannot wait to dive back into this series is so good. I'm just very excited to see what that series has in store for me. But we're here to wrap up this video, and Dom did a great job because Dom is currently in the lead. He got a +2, which is the same score as Kaylee, but you will see him ahead of Kaylee on the leaderboard, because the way I'm doing this is when it comes down to same scores, I'm going off the best score, and because I gave like the actual numbers of my rating system, because I gave Along the Razor's Edge an 8.58 and then I gave Sea of Rune a 6.08, it bumps Dom higher than Kaylee. Even though technically Kaylee did have a direct match and Dom didn't, but I think that when it comes to tied numbers, I'm going off of the score of the best, because that's what I really want to match. I want to love your favorite books is really what it happens. But Kaylee and Realmbreaker did have like a direct 0-0 match. I have nothing else to say besides that I'm super excited, and I might have to go read some more of Dom's favorites because I need another 4. I need another story like this. I'm obsessed. Thank you, Dom, for being a part of this video. If you don't already subscribe to Dom, you definitely should. If you like my channel because I talk about indie fantasy a lot, if you like the epic style fantasy, the sword and sorcery fantasy, the classic fantasy stuff that I talk about, Dom is my go-to for those, and you should definitely go check out Dom. He is the fantasy king in my eyes. Like, I love hearing him talk about books, so definitely go subscribe to him and watch all his videos. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Yeah, thank you for being a part of this. Maybe you'll end up winning, Dom. I don't know if I ever told anyone in this that it was a competition. I just started doing it as a competition. If you are feeling chatty, comment down below and tell me your thoughts on any of my thoughts on these books, if you're excited to read Along the Razor's Edge now that I've loved it. And then if you're not feeling chatty, you can leave me an emoji. Leave me a weapon emoji, because I feel like both of these stories were very focused on like weapons and fighting. And then if you want to connect with me on other platforms, my Bookstagram, my Book Twitter, my Goodreads, and my Patreon are all linked in the description bar below. Have yourselves an absolutely remarkable day, and I'll see you in the next episode of Booktube Bestie.